welcome back to the channel. In today's video, as you can see, we're talking about sweet things that are going to last for ages in your pantry. Again, I had many questions from you to say how we store certain things, certain sweet things, to make sure they're as fresh as possible a few years down the line in our pantry. So, perfect opportunity to put all the questions together and make this into a sweet storage video, if you can call it that way. So, first thing I'm going to start with, guys, is the most popular question I had in terms of storing the sweet stuff is chocolate. And the question is, how long does the chocolate keep and how easy is to keep it and what is the best method of keeping it fresh for longer? Well, guys, the answer to your question is the higher content of cocoa inside your chocolate bar, the longer it will last. Here I have the 74% cocoa. You can buy the chocolate bars that I think up to 90 or even 94% cocoa. And those kind of things will last you pretty much indefinitely, providing they are stored in a dark, cool place. However, on the other side, things like your basic cheap chocolates, especially the ones that have really high fat content and things that also have fillings, would not last you as long. However, the ones with the creamy fillings will be the first ones to go rancid. So to be fair, if you wanted to stockpile chocolate, I would avoid things like those. However, when we're talking about the normal chocolate, guys, anything that's an average milk or dark chocolate will last you a good few years, okay? You can vacuum seal the chocolate if you wanted to, but it's not kind of necessary. They all come in their little Mylar bags. Yes, they're not totally like air sealed, however, they are kind of a-okay and acceptable to sit on your shelves. Normal chocolates, okay? As I said, the cheaper chocolates have a higher fat content. So technically, if you make your choices avoiding that and pick up something with a higher cocoa content, they will last you longer because it has less fat in it. The worst case scenario, again, with the chocolate, guys, it will just go white. If you ever had a bar of chocolate that's been potentially opened, you sort of folded it over and then put this in your cupboard, and maybe a year, 2 years down the line, you take it out of the cupboard and it's got like powdery whitish coating to that. It's nothing to be scared of. It is safe to eat, provided it still smells okay and it doesn't have any physical mold growing on it. This is the worst case scenario that's going to happen to your chocolate, so don't worry. I've eaten chocolate bars good 2-3 years past the best before date, and they were absolutely fine. They didn't, in case, even go white powdery because they were just sealed and they just sat in a cupboard. So anyway, to sum it up, guys, if you do want to stockpile your chocolate in your pantry for long term, choose the darkest possible chocolate. Yes, guys, it doesn't have the same, the same flavor, the same sweetness, but it is there. And the chocolate, especially dark chocolate, is actually really good for you in a small quantity. So something to think about, okay? So chocolate's done. So next two things, guys, is the maple syrup and honey. If you're a prepper, you already know that those two last pretty much indefinitely. The worst case is going to happen, guys, it will crystallize over the long period of time. However, it's nothing to worry about and it will not impact your flavor. As you know, especially honey, it's got antimicrobial properties, and anything that has a lot of honey or honey itself will last you pretty much indefinitely. So it's a really good thing to have, as you probably already do anyway. Right, next thing, guys, is, believe it or not, honeycomb, okay, where that generally, you probably wouldn't have seen a honey, especially if you buy one from the shop anyway. However, honeycombs will last you a good few years, and good few years past the date, providing you put this in an airtight container. Generally, they come in 8 packs like this, okay, and that's fine, but they're full of air. They will stay fresh for a good, 6 months to a year, absolutely fine. Thereafter, as moisture and air gets in it, they'll start to get a bit soft and soggy. Still be consumable, providing they don't have any visible signs of mold or smell rancid. They're absolutely fine. However, again, guys, to maximize the shelf life, put them in an airtight container so air doesn't get to them, moisture doesn't get to them, and they will stay crisp for up to a few years, guys. So again, if you have a sweet tooth, that's a good thing to have. Next thing, right? You all are aware, I'm sure, but we're talking about sweets. Normal hard-boiled sweets, guys. Okay, those things are absolute gem for your stockpile. They last pretty much, I wouldn't say indefinitely, but they do last a really, really long time. Believe it or not, right? I found a sweet from 7 years ago from one of my holidays. It was just a hard-boiled sweet. It had some goo inside it, and it was absolutely fine. That was 7 years, and I don't even know the expiration date initially, so it was there in my handbag, and I just found it, and I was like, well, in the name of research, guys, it was absolutely fine. So again, generally, because they are pretty much, especially just clear ones, they are made of like 100%, pretty much 100% sugar, give or take some in numbers. They will sit in your pantry for a really, really long time. Again, you can vacuum seal them if you really want to. If you really feel the need to be able to, if it gives you peace of mind, then that's absolutely fine. However, those things will just sit there pretty much forever, so it's a really good thing. And if you follow the channel, you know I've been stocking up on the sweeties. The prices of them been going up as well anyway, but again, they're a really, really good thing to have that easily will sit in your pantry for a good few years. Okay, as we all know as well, guys, we're talking about sweets, is the any sort of toffee, hard-boiled sweets, or toffee, like chewy toffee. Again, majority is made of sugar, and they will be absolutely fine. The worst case with the soft toffee, it will go harder as it goes, and eventually it will just become as hard as your normal hard-boiled candy. However, it doesn't ruin consumability, if you wish. You still can consume that, again, providing, guys, it's not covered in mold. They will be absolutely fine. And some people prefer them better that way than they do them soft. So here we are. That's another thing you can be rest assured to keep in your pantry for a long time. You have a sweet tooth. Right. Next thing is a jelly. And guys, yes, we're talking about jellies like this in a packet, or you can buy the jelly pots that have fruit already inside them. Again, providing they're sealed and they're kept in a darker place, the pots will still last you a good couple of years past the date. Okay, so long as they're kept dark and the foil seal on the top is 100% sealed and there's no little holes in it, so they will be okay. However, when we're talking about jelly, this guy here, it will sit in your pantry for years and years. Again, the worst thing it will start happening to this over the time, it will start to have slightly oily, sticky consistency on the top, but this is absolutely fine. It does happen over the years. However, jelly will pretty much last you indefinitely. So again, it's a really handy thing to have if you do like to have a bit of sweets, a bit of, you know, whatever else you make with the jelly. Again, don't worry. As I said, I've myself personally consumed when it was 2 or 3 years past the date. Absolutely fine, just a little bit greasy, but it wasn't a big deal. Hasn't affected the flavor, hasn't affected anything, so it's good enough. So jelly, all good. Right, next thing, marshmallows. Believe it or not, guys. Yep, so you know marshmallows. Okay, and you have a little marshmallows. Again, they initially have a good, probably a year or so. This one's got over the year, so let's say a year and a half initially when you purchase them. Some probably even longer. Again, they will sit in the pantry like it is for another year or so, absolutely fine. After 2 years, okay, I've noticed with the storing, they're starting to go, especially the small ones, they're smaller, they started to shrivel up a bit. Okay, so moisture kind of evaporates and they just basically dry out. And the texture becomes a little bit more chewy, which is somewhat actually a little bit nicer. So the ones I have here, which are the wheat hard ones, and they are April 2020. Okay, so as you can see, they are 3.5 years past best before date. Initially, they would have another probably 1.5 to 2 years. So you can imagine, so those marshmallows have been sitting somewhere for about 5 years since the production date, and they are still absolutely fine. They smell fine. The reason you might ask why I have them for such a long time, I just found them at the back of my cupboard. But I know I consumed one last year that was from the same batch, and that was okay. So again, there's nothing wrong with them. I happily eat them, and it's just fine. So to me, they'll indicate they'll probably sit for another year or so. They just shrivel up even more. But the point is, if you ever come across them in your cupboard or you're worried about it, don't worry. You can still eat them. They still smell like candy. They smell fresh. They smell as good as new. So it's nothing wrong with them. So to me, they're really, really good contender for your long sweet tooth pantry, if you wish. So don't worry. Right, and the last two, guys, again, they're pretty much probably be aware as a prepper. And we're talking about the cocoa powder and the hot chocolate powder. Okay, cocoa powder, again, so long as it's kept in a airtight container in a dark cupboard, it will last you pretty much indefinitely. Just make sure there is no contaminants in there, there is no moisture, and it will last you for ages. And the same thing comes with the hot chocolate drinks, providing it doesn't have huge amount of milk powder mixed in there. They will sit for ages and they will be absolutely safe to consume. So this one was best before 1st of May 2021. So again, we're 2.5 years past, but it's nothing wrong with that. It's still like it smells as good as fresh. The texture is just as fresh as it was from the day one. So you can see, guys, okay, nothing wrong with this. And again, this has not even been resealed after it's been opened. Yes, it's in a thicker nylon bag, but I just put the little clip on it and it's fine. So if I decided to put this in a long-term storage, which I do have some of them, I would just snip the top and put the oxygen absorber in, and then just reseal it up, and I'll be fine for even another few years. So there we have it, guys. I'm sure there'll be other things like you could include in the list potentially, but like cereals, but I've covered this as an individual thing. It's not something we'll keep indefinitely. However, things like that, guys, are a key sweet prepper items, I would say, and something you should be able to feel safe to stock in your pantry. So there we have it anyway. So hopefully you find this helpful. If you have any other things you might have experienced in your storage that you would like to add onto the list to share with everybody, then please comment below so everybody can read this and we'll add you onto our list. Otherwise, well, thank you for watching. Thumbs up, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye.